All right, looks like my voice is held out through this whole thing, so that's great. We're on to the last three submissions here. We're on Q through W. So if you're any of these three students, then voila, this is the video for you. I do, of course, always recommend checking out, oh, I've already got these open, my bad. I do recommend checking out all the videos so that if there's a tip or a trick that I talk about, then you can catch that too. But speaking of tips and tricks, if you ever end up with these little guides and you want to get rid of them, there are two ways to do it pretty easily. You can move them around as long as they're not locked using the standard move tool. But if you get the rulers up, and that's just Control R on PC, Command R on Macintosh, same thing as view rulers, you can grab the guide and pull it onto the ruler and it will go away. Now these appear by dragging over or by creating, like Control R to get rid of that, creating guides under view new guide. You can create guides that way is another way. Speaking of which, this is how you can also lock guides. So if you don't want to move them around by accident using the move tool, you can do that. You can also clear all your guides by going to view clear guides. And I'll get rid of the guides. A little later in the semester, we'll talk about guides more in depth. I've also got a video on guides up in the Q&A section. And if you have any questions about anything, of course, let me know. I said this in a couple of videos, I think. I'm talking a little fast this time. I'm trying to get through these while my voice is holding out. I have just gotten over well, I'm not quite over a flu that has lasted for 2 weeks now. It's scrolling into week 3. Not much I can do except drink orange juice and take naps. So the problem is that I completely lost my voice. I was coughing constantly while it was going on, so I was not able to do these videos earlier. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's take a look at the Millennial Snowflake brush. We have a beautiful brush that is a snowflake that's been captured. And it looks like the transparent, it does some projection, it looks like. It also does some size jitter, and it has some opacity jitter, I believe. I'll check that. Yeah, some opacity jitter. Good job on that. Got the dab, got the stroke. Very cool. Let it go, as in Van Gogh. And we've got a little stroke with squares, and it's basically a capture brush, but it's doing something kind of fun with the wetness here, so it's kind of squishing it together. Well, not wetness, but the blanking on the term, sorry guys. It's smushing together the colors very nicely. And it's the stroke is following the brush. I would have liked to have seen one more little stroke in here so I could see what's going on, but let's move on to the crayon. The crayon streaker, which looks like a bristle brush, really fancy one. Good job on that. Very nice. Very nice. We've got the angled freeliner, and this is essentially just an angled brush. Does a pretty good job. Well done. Standard brush. We've got, looks like a capture brush. This is too big for me to see. I need a little stroke somewhere just so that I can see it. Multiple strokes are fine. Rainbow fries. Clearly you've got some settings going on, but it's just smushed over itself, so I can't say much about it. I'll move on to the next one. Looks like a fan brush, and it's kind of rolling through. Good job. Like the hue jitter. Good choice of colors too. Feels very Starbucksy. Very nice. All right, so big thing here. I've said this in the last few videos. Just my mic, I'm knocking everything over. I've said this in the last few videos. The reason I don't have you just submit the brushes as a brush file that I can load and play with the brushes myself, that'd be easier for me to grade and comment on. It's a lot harder for a lot of students. Frequently when that happens, they start accidentally turning in corrupted files or the wrong files, or files that are incompatible with the system, even when I tell them how to do it. It's the fastest way to ensure that we can just see these and that they're working is by having you guys turn in just a little image file with these. I just caught that this is Harry Potter with a W. That's great. With multiple layers. You just name the layers, make sure it's the right size, 300 pixels, 7 by 3 inches, all that good stuff. Then we can see everything. And that's why I'm having it. The downside to that is sometimes you'll have a stroke that clearly shows what's going on, and sometimes you'll have a stroke where I can't see anything. So you guys sometimes do tiny multiple strokes and some big strokes just so I can see what's happening. So that would be the thing. Just make sure you got enough strokes that it's showing off the brush and I can see what's going in on that. I like these brushes though. I think they're pretty useful. I think you're gonna have fun with them. All right, let's move on to the next submission. Don't save. Okay, Batman. So what have we here? We have a whole bunch of things. I didn't want to have the white in it. You notice on the last video I turned off the background layer just so I could see what the transparency was doing. Can't do that if you flatten this onto a white background. That's really why I want it on transparent. Okay, that said, we've got Batman. It's looks like a capture brush. I thought it might be a projection brush, but I don't see any projection going on in there. So that's about all that's happening on this. Okay, and we've got Sunflower. What is Sunflower? It is a looks like it's just a capture brush. I was going to say it might be a dual brush, but I don't see I was checking everything out. I don't see anything indicating a mask made from another brush on it. So it's just another capture brush. I really want to see differences in the settings. I want to see these brushes behaving differently. It's not enough to have different captures. You gotta have different settings so that they behave differently. That's what I'm looking for in this. That's what I keep drilling in. Even if you spend a lot of time making the brush, if it doesn't look like it's behaving differently between each of these examples, then it's going to count against you. And that's part of the assignment. Like, it's showing off that you've explored these settings and everything that's going on in there. Now, for example, this one, we've got a slight hue jitter going on to increase the brightness, or sorry, I should say saturation jitter, which is pretty nice. And it's another capture brush, but that's the only difference on it. I'd like to see more exploration. Yes, like this. This is what I'm talking about. Notice how it's changing some sizes and it's doing some transparency effects. That's what I'm talking about. Start exploring these, start going through it. These need a couple more passes on them. This works. This is what I'm looking for. We got Snail. Snail is Gary the Snail from SpongeBob SquarePants, if you guys haven't seen it in a while. We've got, again, this is just a capture brush. I don't see anything particularly interesting going on in there, which means it's not that much different from the Sunflower. I need to see some settings being explored on here. Like this. This is what I'm talking about. So you've got some hue jitter, you have it falling around, no size jitter, that's too bad. But start exploring these. Like you've got, so like this one, and this one, they're all basically the same kind of thing. There's not a whole lot of change going on in there. This one at least has some saturation jitter. This one has some size changes. This one has all of the hue jitter, all that good stuff. But you've got three of them that are basically have the same settings, even though they have a different starting point. And I need to see some changes in settings. That said, good work though. You were spending the time on it. Just needed to push it a little bit further. We've got 7 inches by 3 inches, 300 pixels per inch. You've named everything. Thank you for that. All right. Very good. Okay, let's move on to the next submission. But before we do, one other thing, I do need to have this last name dash first name here. Notice we got number dash last name dash first name dash 01. So it's the first version that they did. I need the same thing on everyone. The number dash last name dash first name, and then the iteration. That makes it a lot easier when I'm putting in these grades. I can find everything like way faster because they toss in like a real jumble of your names at the beginning, and that changes according to the method that I downloaded in. So if you just name these things the method that I said, it's way faster for me to grade it. If you have any questions, I could bring up your file pretty much like that. And you know, if you don't follow that naming convention, it gets really hard for me to try to grab everything. All right, let's move on to the next one. Don't save. Okay, what have we here for the... My microphone tries to fall off of its mic stand. Sorry, let me adjust this. There we go. Okay, test. You can still hear me? Okay. My signal coming in strong. All right. Let's take a look and see what we got. So, we've got handstand. This is pretty clever. It's a capture brush that has a rotation, so it does like these little hand flips. Very nice. We've got Hummingbird, which is another capture brush. This particular capture brush is doing a hue jitter with a constraint on the hue so that it stays within a nice range of colors. Very good. We've got the Blob. The settings look the same as the Hummingbird. Again, I need to see different settings going on. In this case, there's a different capture brush. That's the only change between these two as far as I can see. Again, we've got this really nice capture, but it looks they look like the same settings. Now I can't say for sure that it's not the same settings. I've said this again and again. The reason that I don't just have the brushes where I could easily just open it and see what you did is so that I can ensure that everybody can just glance and see that it's right or it's wrong. In this case, if you're not showing a big variety of setting changes in the brushes, you're not showing off your skills. And that's what you need to be doing on this, is showing off that, yes, I explored everything. This semester seems to have a lot more of that problem than some of my other semesters, so maybe I needed to drill that in a little bit more. But yeah, I want to see bigger differences, like between these two. You can tell the difference. These look like they have the same two settings, that they're just different captures. This looks to be about the same as that one. Just different captures. Okay, now this is what I'm talking about. We've got some interesting smearing going on in here, which is pretty fun. That's a lot better. It's still kind of a capture brush type effect. And I don't know what's happening here. Your stroke is too big, so I can't see what's going on. Would have been better to have a smaller brush on this one so that I could get the stroke next to the dab. Looks like you are changing the size, at least on that one, so that's a better effect. So my suggestions here, a few more smaller strokes so I can see what's going on. Let me check something here. Size is correct. Everything's good there. Really explore those settings. Show off what you can do in each of them. Just put something different on display for each brush so they can go through. All right, with that, that's the last of all of the brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and close up these videos and upload all of these things. I talked kind of fast on these. I was a little afraid my voice was going to give out. So if there are any issues with the closed captions, let me know. If you need those, I'll go back through and try to figure out what's going on. But I think it'll be okay. All right. That said, I will see you for the next batch of videos. We'll be going over, I believe, patterns. I think we have assignment 6 up next. See you guys there.